Blue Antler is a liminal place. A place where knowledge lies in sun-filled meadows, and wisdom slumbers in the deepest shadows of the forest. Profound inner knowing comes when we touch the unknown. Our unions with the mysteries drive us onward. Our liminal conversations explore the lives of those who have touched the unknown. What was it like to experience the mysteries? How did they discover their path? Join my search for whispered secrets and hidden wisdom. Who knows? It may help you discover your path. Welcome back to Blue Antler, Whispered Secrets and Hidden Wisdom, a Discover Your Path podcast. I'm Ken, your host. And today, we get to chat with a, lifelong friend, Corine. What I love about this conversation is something you'll pick up on from the very beginning, and that is that really she and I have never, ever really sat down and just talked about our psychic abilities or our experiences. I don't want to give away too much, so I'll let you dive right in. I hope you enjoy this episode of Blue Antler, Whispered Secrets and Hidden Wisdom. Hey, what was it like to be the only one in Alcatraz as a little kid who could see the dead people and talk to them?
Well,
let's just jump right in.
sure. It was interesting. You should see the amount of adults that look at you like you're crazy when you're, 8, 9 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I thought it was,
Wow.
I thought it was normal, but apparently it wasn't normal to them.
Not normal. It's not
No.
normal to most people.
No. In the middle of a tour group with everybody in their headphones, and I'm wandering around the empty, abandoned cafeteria talking to people in the corner. Yeah. People that only apparently I could see.
Okay. I've been thinking about this conversation for a while because you and I have known each other for 30 plus 40 years ish, 35, 40, 35.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
And when we speak about these things,
Yes.
you and I always like talk in code. Like we like and then like we like head tilted down like and then like yeah.
Yep.
We never actually like openly speak about it. I guess the only time we did was when we did that house cleansing together.
Yes.
And then a couple times at Blue Antler.
Yes.
But other than that, we have never had like
I don't think that you and I have ever had to actually physically verbalize that because we just get it. Like I can give you a look and look in a corner and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yes. I just had to think for a few minutes, like, when have we ever really spoken openly about it? And we haven't. I mean, probably the closest we ever got was, I don't know, singing Phantom of the Opera.
Possibly.
I mean, like,
possibly. That's all I ask of you.
So I was trying to remember all the words because I was gonna put you on the spot and make you sing it right now because it's what we sang.
No, I don't even remember the words. It was, yeah. That one and the one from Les Mis.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I can't even remember the name of that song anymore. On My Own. There we go.
On My Own.
On My Own.
I love that song.
Me too, but it makes me cry when I try to sing it. I can't do it anymore.
Wow.
can't do it anymore.
I make other people cry when I try and sing it because it's painful.
Lies.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to. Oh, I'm super fascinated because you and I never even like did the eye to the corner and then back at each other until Blue Antler.
Right.
And so we had known each other for 30 years before that and never actually ever spoken about those things. So I need to get caught up on your spooky woo-woo shit. What's the first time you remember seeing those things?
Well, my mom says that I basically was like this from the day that I popped out, but
really,
yeah, she said she had a hard time punishing me when I was little because she would put me on the stairs and I would find people to entertain me while I was sitting on the stairs looking down in the basement. So, but the first time I really remember anything.
Bless your mom.
I know. She was so lucky. The first time I actually remember anything significant, I was either 4 or 5, and I was outside playing. And if you go you're at my parents' house. There's a long driveway. You go out in the back, and there is this big garden field. It's like a half an acre back there. And I had run from the front yard into the backyard up that driveway, and I got onto the back porch, and there was a little girl standing there. And she's a really pretty little girl. She had a long, white dress on. It was just below her knees, and it had one of those big apron fronts on the shoulder and a bow. And then her hair was in those really big ringlets. And she's like, "Come on, let's go play." And so I chased after her, and we went into that back field, and she disappeared. And so I looked for her for like an hour. And my mom finally came out. She's like, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm looking for my friend."
No.
Never saw her again.
Really?
Never.
Oh my God. Did you tell your mom?
I told her I was looking for my friend.
But
when I was little, the people that I saw, I thought everybody could see, so it didn't need to be, "Hey."
Yeah. Oh my God.
Excuse me.
I'm trying to figure out where I would like to go with this information.
There are so many places.
Okay, so how did puberty, or did it affect this?
It did. Like when I turned about, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, my mind started opening up a little bit more. Because before then, I could only really see and hear the things that were kind.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
About that time, I could pass people, I do that in air quotations, on the street.
Yeah.
And know, oh, I shouldn't talk to them. I shouldn't, that's not a person I need to speak to or interact with.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So puberty flipped the switch to be able to then see the maybe
Not necessarily like
bad,
horrible things, but it opened it and made it broader, so I wasn't just absorbing the nice things.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
What's the first one that scared the shit out of you?
Well, I remember I was walking down the street, and I was with my mom, and I think I was with my grandma. And I just remember looking, I can't even remember where we were, but I looked to my left, and we were passing a group of people, and there was a tall figure, and it looked like his face was just shrouded in like black. And I got the chills up my arms, and I was like, "Nope, we're not talking to that one." I remember turning around and looking. It was looking at me, but we just kept going. And I didn't say anything. Like, I came from a very religious background,
Yeah.
and that was not something that we talked about.
Um, okay. I think that's a great place to go. You know, I've spoken to Kelly,
Yes.
and so and you've worked with her, and so you and I both know her experiences with those type of things and growing up in that religion. Um, so how did you manage all of those expectations and how did you manage that?
For the most part, I pretended like the things that I could see and hear and do didn't exist.
Hmm,
I kept them to myself
yeah,
because it was kind of frowned upon as something that I wasn't supposed to dabble with per se. If that, if that
yeah.
comes, I,
Because you and I also grew up just after or at the very end of like the Satanic Panic
yes,
stuff. Okay.
yes,
Mm.
yep,
So all of it, unless you saw, well, unless you saw someone in the temple,
yes,
because the veil is very thin there, it didn't really matter. It was bad.
exactly. And can I just say, being the way that I am, I never saw anybody in the temple.
I didn't either. That's funny. I've actually never thought I always thought to myself, well, I've talked about it on the show before. I wondered if I had those experiences where I felt connection at the
Hmm.
temple, but I've never thought about if I'd seen anyone.
Yeah, I never saw
Hmm.
anybody. They used
Hmm.
to, they used to tell us, oh, if you go and do the baptisms for the dead, you're going to be able to see the people that are so happy that you're there. And
They did? You were told that?
I remember one of my teachers telling me that,
Wow.
and I thought to myself, okay, well, I did it, and I didn't see anybody.
That's kind of fucked.
I took a bath, like
Yeah, you're like, I got wet and now I know my hair is fucked.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much, you know.
Um, oh,
Yep.
okay. Woo, sorry.
Nope, you're good.
That was weird. Um, sorry, folks, we're having a moment.
Uh huh.
Um, okay. I know. Okay. So there has to be something in all of this for you. Um, okay. I'm speculating
Okay.
here. Okay. Um, what what about you draws them to you? Because when you and I we did that one cleansing together.
Yes,
Well, I don't know if it was cleansing. We went into that house together, um, and figured some things out.
we did.
Um, but like here, because where we're recording is also where I work, I don't. I turn my volume down,
Yes.
right? Like you, I get maybe let's go here first. I turn the volume down. I don't want to know everyone's shit. I don't want to see that stuff when I'm
No.
not working.
Exactly.
How do you manage that now? Like you saw it before, you just kept it to yourself, but how do you manage that now? Or
Like,
do you?
how do I shut it down for the times I don't want?
Yeah, can you?
Never completely.
Yeah.
I can turn
I
down.
don't
I can turn down the volume.
yeah, I don't like to turn it off because
No,
I'll turn it down.
I have turned it off before,
Hmm.
and it took me a really long time to get it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such an integral part of me that if it's not there, I don't feel like I'm myself.
Yeah, well it's like trying to talk without your hands.
Exactly. I can't do that
Can't do
either.
that either.
Mm-mm. Nope.
uh so when did you turn it off?
Um, it was probably, oh gosh, I'm going to say a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah,
After Kelly or before?
after Kelly.
What?
I did. For a little while, it was because I had too much of my own misery going on
Mm, okay.
that I couldn't
Mm,
handle that and everything else. And I think that was part of the reason why I stayed as down as I was for a long time, because I thought I didn't need it.
Yeah.
And I think I missed out on some valuable help when and where I could have used it. And because it was just a lesson I think I had to learn, that I just needed to keep myself open. I could have turned down the volume, but I slammed the door on it, bam, because I didn't believe in a whole lot at that point.
Well, I think it's really interesting when, how do I put this? I think it's interesting when people don't have some sort of like belief system or like faith-based something, or even like even if it's not like a religion, it's just like a centeredness that is about like I know and I have control and sovereignty over.
Yes.
And they go into this because I feel like it really can bite you in the ass.
Yes.
If you don't have that. I'm fascinated. Okay. Okay. So we're going back again. Okay. So teenager.
Yes.
And keeping the shit to yourself.
Yes.
I asked Kelly the same question. Did you have party tricks that you did for people?
Yes.
What were yours? They're my favorite. I love party tricks.
So I would have friends with deceased loved ones and people that I'd never met, and we would just be talking, and we'd be, I would bring up things like, oh, my grandma this and my grandma that, because I still had her at that point, and I knew that they didn't, and that's awful, I know. But we would talk about grandparents, and they'd be like, oh, well, I haven't seen my grandma since I was this age or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, I bet you I can guess what they look like. And then I describe them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because generally 9 times out of 10, they were standing right behind them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Party tricks.
Now.
Yes.
When you got married, you automatically had a child.
I did.
Because
I did.
Did you adopt him?
I did not.
Okay. But
he was mine. Yeah. He was 2 when I got him, and I was only 18.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yep.
You could barely drive when he was born.
This is true. It's very true.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you started having kids of your own.
Yes.
What was it like to have these abilities while raising your kids?
Sometimes it was terrifying because these little people were like me. Even my oldest. I remember being in our first apartment, and we weren't even married yet. And his room was at the end of the hallway, and ours was at the other end. And he just woke up screaming one night, just absolutely screaming. And I ran into his room, and I could see a man in the corner staring at my son. And he was up on his bed, standing, huddled in the corner, screaming and pointing, and he could see him. And I felt so guilty because I thought I brought this, because it was a man that I'd seen my whole life.
Did this man frighten you as a child?
No, it was my grandfather.
Oh, okay.
It was my grandfather. But he wouldn't have known that. And to this day, every single one of my kids have seen him, and you will hear them talk about the man in the hat. They have always talked about the man in the hat. And it's my grandpa.
And it's your grandpa?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've seen him in many forms, with the hat, without the hat. I mean, I think the first time I ever saw him, I was in my bedroom and I was probably 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And I had this yellow dresser with a big vanity mirror, and I was brushing my hair, and I looked behind me, and there was this very nice looking young man. His hair was combed and he was just smiling at me. And it was a warm, happy feeling. And I'm just, it didn't bother me. And then later, I was downstairs speaking to my grandma, and she was showing me pictures of them when they first got married, and it was my grandpa.
Wow.
And I just, validation is always,
oh my God,
always such a wonderful thing.
Even if it scares the shit out of you because you're not sure what to do with all of it, it's
Right.
really good because you need it.
But at that age, it wasn't scary. It just,
No.
it was normal. And to know that that was somebody who I had never met,
Yeah.
making sure that I knew that they were there.
Yeah.
My grandpa died in 1968. I wasn't born until 1980.
You had no idea.
I had no idea who he was. I'd never met him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So much I didn't really know about you.
Well, back then you and I didn't.
Talk about it?
Yeah, back then we didn't talk about those kinds of things. We were expected to be a certain way and follow a certain set of rules, and
Yeah, fair enough.
And anything outside of that box was kind of frowned upon.
Well, and unless you had the power of the priesthood.
Yes.
Oh Christ. Literally.
That too.
So yeah, it's cracking me up.
Yeah.
Okay, so how often do you, now that they're adults, how often do you talk to your kids about these things, or do they come to you and say, "Oh, I had this experience," or "I saw this," or do they kind of like turned it down?
So Dylan shuts it off because he doesn't want anything to do with it. It scares him.
Okay.
The last time he heard anything, we were driving out over to Grantsville towards the industrial depot.
Sorry, I love that you laughed, by the way.
Well, it's because it's funny to me and it scared him. But so we were driving out towards Grantsville, and we'd just gone over the railroad tracks, and I was taking him to the gym because he had his jujitsu classes.
Yeah.
He was like, "Mom, you got to listen to this song." And I can't even remember the name of the song, something about champions. And it was a really, really good song. And all of a sudden, we hear whistling coming from the back seat. And I just grin, and Dylan literally whips his head around. And he's like, "Oh, hell no." And he claps his hand over his ears, and he's like, "I didn't hear anything." And I'm like, "Yeah, you did." Nope, I didn't.
How old?
He was maybe 16.
Wow.
Yeah. But he's completely, I'm not stupid. He still hears and sees things, but he won't admit it.
He doesn't talk about it.
Nope. And Whitney was like me. She has an aversion to mirrors at nighttime. So when she sleeps, she used to cover her mirrors. I don't know if she does that anymore.
She might not have time.
No, she's too busy being a mom now.
Yeah. Yeah. You have zero time to do any of that stuff.
But yeah, like,
wow.
Because she could see people in the mirrors like I did when I was little. People mirror gaze and they think that's great. I cannot. It's very unsettling to me.
What, so like, take me through, like I'm assuming you've done it.
I have.
So what is that process like for you? Because I don't, I've had a couple times where I don't see other people in the mirror. My image morphs into something else.
I've had that happen to me too.
And that, the problem is I can't really hold my gaze long enough to kind of stay in that moment. And then I'm like, God damn it, I wish I didn't have to blink.
Yes.
So tell me, what is it like for you? What is that experience?
So it depends on the situation, because I've had experiences like you. There was a time I thought, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to really take a look at myself. And I sat there and it looked, my whole body got super heavy and it kind of felt like I was asleep with my eyes open. And everything behind me, it opened up like a door and I could just see all of these people. And then it got really loud and it sounded like, when you turn onto a radio station and it's nothing but hundreds of voices and white noise. And it's too much. And so it kind of slammed me back into reality. And I pulled back and I'm like, nope, we're not doing that again. Like, it's too unsettling. I think for me, it felt like I was opening a door that didn't need to be opened at the time. That was a lot of people.
Yeah. I feel like, okay, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Instead of me.
Yes.
Giving words. Did you feel like they were there for you, or did you feel like you stepped out onto a busy street?
I felt like they came to me.
They were lined up.
That they needed something from me. And there were so many that I couldn't handle it. Like, I'm not even joking. It looked like a line of people waiting to get into a concert. Like, it was just vast and there were so many people bunched up together, and the closer ones I could see their faces, but the farther they got back they were just like shadow images, and just, God, it was overwhelming.
It reminds me of that Mervyn's commercial. Open.
Yes. Yeah, I would akin it to that for sure. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy, and I can still see things in the mirror, but I'm not going to purposely sit down and try to find that anymore. I know that sounds, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm being selfish, but I can only handle one at a time.
Well,
like, honestly.
It's like being married. You can only handle one person at a time.
You are true.
Although I do believe in polyamory, and I'm totally down for it. But Jesus. Okay. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. Back to this. So,
yes.
I want to ask you. I want to ask you this.
Okay.
I can see having kids and a job, and like it's really, sometimes it can be very hard to set aside time to
Yes.
do this. And and I'm assuming at the moment that you probably really hate when people are like, oh my god, you're so lucky you have those gifts, you can talk to like dead, you can see like dead people, and you're like, I'm maybe.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't feel so lucky.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish I was just like everybody else. But then I have to realize everybody else is not like everybody else.
Right. Yes.
There are so many people like you and I
Yep.
that just don't say anything.
I went I went to a celebration of life recently.
Yes.
And so I'm damn sure I'm turning my, not shutting down, I'm turning my volume all the way down.
Yes.
I do not want access to people's grief. I do not want access to their
Yes.
feelings, their guilt, their shame, or even the dead people who are showing up for the person who, like,
Yes.
yeah, I felt on my way there that, like, the dead person and I connected for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more like I had a memory, like, of us growing up, and I
Right.
thought, oh, that's beautiful. I remember, like, fell down on the floor laughing because we shattered someone's window, golf, like hitting golf balls and whatever. And then I went and I came home and I got a message from someone who I had seen there,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, you kept looking at me. I feel like maybe you were trying, like you were getting something for me. And, if you could just write it down and then we'll have an appointment soon. And I was like, well, I responded, I'm like, it was nice to see you. And I had my volume turned all the way down
Yes.
because I do not need, I got my own grief. I got my own shit. I do
Yep.
not need to open myself up at a funeral
Yeah.
to
That
all that.
that would be paralyzing.
Yeah,
I have a really, really hard time going to viewings and wakes and funerals because it takes such a physical and mental and spiritual toll
mhm,
that it can put me down for days
yeah,
if I let it. But I'm the same way. I have to bubble up, as Kelly would say. I have to
yeah,
turn it down and prepare myself for things like that. And
yeah.
every now and then there's a crack. And there, oh man. And if you let any of that in, it's just like, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like knives.
I do. I do. This is going to be disgusting, so forgive me. It's like when the word is when you get crop dusted at Walmart
Oh,
and
yes.
you get slapped in the face with it and
Yep.
you are
It's like a
like,
sneak attack.
oh my God, that was like,
Yeah.
it completely,
Yeah.
you're like, sorry, but that's what I kind of thought of it because
Yeah.
it does hit you and like it completely jars you out of your focus. And then
Yes.
you're like, I got to get out of here.
Yep. Yep. That's
Sorry.
generally about the time. No, you're not wrong. Like it depends on the emotion that seems to creep through. Like when it's
Yeah.
pain, like it feels like little knives, but I can see that too. Like when you just feel someone's thoughts or their emotions or it
Mhm.
is kind of like a oh, you can feel the air change, you can feel the pressure in the room shift. It's crazy.
Um, so what is your process like for mm, I call it setting up shop, but like uh the idea is that oh, I'm gonna put this boundary in place and this boundary in place and like what have you learned and like m- maybe even tried that didn't work over time to
Um,
kind of bubble up, I guess, is it
so I'm going to bring Kelly into it again. She taught me a really, really great technique.
yeah,
Um,
I love
but
Kelly.
I do too. She is amazing. I miss her so much. But she would have me sit down and take these deep breaths and imagine water rolling up and down my body and cleansing all of the bad things out and freeing up my mind. And it was very calming, and
Yeah.
it settled me enough to where I could roll my own space out and be like, okay, you can talk to me, you can't touch me. um, I invite in this, but not this. And I really try to keep my boundaries. Like today, before I even came, I told the things and the people that were in my house that they were not allowed to come with me to come play with what was here.
Yeah.
And when I was out in the parking lot, I made it very clear that nothing that was here was allowed to come home with me because I am really good at bringing people to and from.
Have you ever kind of been maybe told or experienced like, okay, hey Corinne, this is an email from above, and this is really maybe what your soul path is, or like this is like you have this gift to fill in the blank. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you have that?
I feel like I could. I feel like I could,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know that I am in a headspace to where I could make that my only.
Fair enough.
Life has changed so much for me and so drastically in the last 3 years. We'll just say the last 3 years
Yeah.
that it's at a point where I couldn't do it full time. I still do it for friends and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I feel like I'm at a point where I don't feel right making it
Mhm.
like a career. I don't know how else to put it
Yeah.
because
Sure.
it's not a career, it's a path. But
Yeah.
like just the amount of changes in the past 3 years. Like I felt sorry for myself and I was angry and I felt like why do all of these bad things keep happening to me? Until I woke up one day and I realized, well, they had to happen because that's not where I was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I hate starting over,
Mm-hmm.
that's what life's all about.
Mm.
I had to wake up and go, I had to get off that path in order to get on another, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
And
no,
as
it
much as
does.
it sucked and as hard as it was, I had to learn and grow from it.
Yeah.
And I'm irritated, but I'm not angry anymore.
Oh, good.
If that,
Yeah, no, no,
yeah,
no, no. It's the purification process,
yeah,
which I feel like I mean, pretty much is just like a life journey.
yeah,
That's everyone's life journey. But the purification process is very difficult because it's like, okay, we think we like even where I'm at now. I think I know, or before,
yeah,
this is my path, and I've created this path, and now it's like, oh no, you've got to shift out of that completely,
yeah,
and because you're done with that.
exactly.
And I'm like, I don't, but I put so much time and effort into that.
And that's when it gets uncomfortable. But I
Yeah,
learned that when you're uncomfortable, it's because that's where you need to grow. And
yeah,
so instead of sticking
yeah.
on the path, you have to take the side path sometimes and go the roundabout way
Hmm.
to figure out exactly where you are and what you're supposed to be doing.
So, do we? Well, I'm not. That's kind of a dumb question, but I'll ask it. You feel like now you're in a way better place, and like you've shed some of the things that you needed to shed, and
Yes.
you feel more. I like the word aligned.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel centered and more like myself than I have in probably the last 15 years,
Mm.
which is great.
Yeah.
Um, it's nice to smile and be open and be genuinely happy. Like,
Yeah.
we all have our bad days, but
Hmm.
I've learned that the more at peace you are with yourself, the more you're open to the things around you and kind of the things that we do. Because I'm pretty sure they don't want to come and talk to somebody who's miserable and angry. It's not
Um,
going to do them any good.
no, not at all. Do you feel like too, like, so I don't know, one of the things I've learned or noticed is that when I'm doing readings for people, I tend to have like everyone who showed up that day has one of like the same general thread of challenge in life, and then um pardon me, and then I realized that I have that same challenge at the moment, and like
Yes,
every single reading was for me. So do you feel like also in that respect, the more whatever we are broadcasting is what tends to be attracted to us,
yes,
and now I don't think necessarily that if you're angry you're only going to get angry. I just feel like if you're aligned, all a lot of the everything will come to try and talk to you, but don't you don't become one with it as
exactly.
easily.
Yeah, you don't mesh with it the way that you could if you
Yeah.
were scattered. I feel like
Yeah.
when you're in 50 different places, there is so much you can pick up from each energy that comes to you that isn't your own. And you absorb that. And then you wonder, well, this isn't how I am. Why am I acting like this? And it's because you've absorbed an energy that isn't yours.
Yeah. I do really like that. I feel like that happens with people even who are living,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like that's why we bubble up when we go to Walmart.
Yes. Every day. Oh, Walmart.
I'm sorry, we're supposed to call it the
The
village
pit.
store.
The pit of despair.
Yeah, Eric and I decided on the last episode we're calling it the village market to make it us sound a little bit more, maybe a little less trashy.
That works. The people of the village market.
The people of the village market, yeah.
Yes.
.com. Oh my God, that was a really old dad joke I just told.
I like it. I like it.
So, okay.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh God. Oh, okay. Oh God. I don't know how to do this. Okay.
Okay. Just so did you ever, because I did when we were younger, we were running around doing our singing thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel
that there was in the basement of Shawnee's?
Yes, that too, because there was probably 2 or 3 of them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, nice old lady and a couple of grumpy old men. Yeah, I know, I remember them. But
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
you. No, because I never would have even thought of that. But I knew in my brain that there was something with you that I connected to. Did you ever think that way about me? Because I can sense that in other people sometimes. But it was still, it's one of those things I was going to be like, hey, do you see dead people too?
Okay, so I feel like I have a very small collection of people that I will probably always like. The boundaries of connection don't really apply, like what we would consider like we have to see each other every day, we have to talk every day,
Exactly.
like I don't have like those people. It doesn't apply to, which took me a very long time to get there and to realize that was okay. One, yes, I knew that we had a connection back then. I will tell you that I was so oblivious. That's the right word. To I knew I had, party tricks later on. I was so oblivious to anything around me because I was so caught up in the church. I was so caught up in I have to do 1,400 things so that I can get a college scholarship. I was so caught up in trying to be like everybody else because no matter what I did, I was singled out.
Yes.
I was so caught up in trying to be what I thought was going to be acceptable by everyone else,
right,
that I didn't pay attention to anything other than that. And if you would have, so here's actually what I think. I think something happened to me as a child, and it blocked me, or I blocked it, or I was shamed into blocking it, because I feel like there's still something there that I haven't really tapped into yet. That was like some traumatic event.
Yes.
And I still don't know what that is. I'm not sure I could handle it at the moment. Like I might have to have like a 3-day or a 30-day uni visit if I actually were to tap into that.
Right.
But I know that I sensed in you, and I sense in a few other people in my life, that connection. And I will tell you, if you, because we knew each other back then.
We did.
There were a few people back then who I pushed away, or I didn't necessarily push them away, but I kept them at arm's length.
You put them into a box.
Because I didn't want to deal with that part of me that was the connection.
That's fair.
Yeah. And so like I still keep almost everybody at a distance. It takes a lot for me to like say anything to people or to bring up the fact that I need help or anything.
Yes.
Like when I uh, like when I had cancer and I didn't tell anybody for a while.
Hmm.
I waited till Tate got home, and then I told him.
Right.
And then I uh, sat down with Ralph and Leah, and I was like, "Hey, I have to tell you something, and I don't know what's going to happen, but that took a lot for me to say anything to anybody
Hmm.
because I was considered um, weak and less than my whole life, so I didn't want to be weak again, you know."
Hmm. I
Um,
do. I understand that.
so it's taken me to almost 50 to kind of get to this point where like I'm okay opening up with you.
Hmm.
And it's not even opening up; it's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I will turn that. I will not everybody. Like most people get the jovial, funny
Yeah.
person. Not very, very few people get beyond that because I don't allow them to.
And that's fair. I,
Yeah,
I I tend to do that myself. So
yeah,
I think it's a protection mechanism. Like,
yeah,
because I don't want ever anybody to ever think I'm less than or
yeah,
I'm weak or
yeah, yeah.
that they can break me so no, I totally understand what you're saying.
It's hard too. I feel like uh and then you can tell me how you feel about
Mhm.
this. I'm fucking sick and tired of people acting like they should have 24/7 access to me. Now,
Yes.
listen, like Odin gets that, the Nornir get that, the runes get that, like, and very, very few other people who are corporeal get that. Um, but I feel like the way I've lived my life, unfortunately, has allowed other people. It's not stopped it. It's fed into the fact that they think that they should have 24/7 access to me. And so it's not my fault, so to speak, but I didn't discourage it. And now that I am, people get pissed off. So
Yeah.
I feel like we have to like I feel like those protections we have to have in place.
Yes. Sometimes I think I've got the walls up a little too tight and a little too hard,
Mhm.
but I totally understand where you're coming from because the more the more people that are in your circle,
Yeah.
the more they expect from you. And there's
Hmm.
only so much you can give. So I have seriously tightened up my circle.
Yeah.
I I've locked down things and I've been so private because not everybody in the world needs access to me.
They don't need to know your shit.
No, and if I want to open the door and let you in, I will do so.
Why do people have okay. I was gonna say why do people have such a hard time with boundaries? But um I will let me say this. It's the number one thing that happens that people okay. When people come to see me about being bothered by the other,
Yes.
it's the number one thing they have a hard time with in physical and in energetic or ethereal is boundaries. And they don't think they can set boundaries.
Yeah.
And then when we start talking, they start realizing, oh, I don't have boundaries with anyone.
Yep.
I'm like, you can put your open sign up that you're gonna, but your
Yeah.
closed sign goes up when you're going to bed.
Yep. I've had to tell people you are not a 7-Eleven. You are not open 24 hours a day.
No.
You don't even have to be open 2 hours a day. If you want to set some time open and I will be open for 45 minutes, come talk to me and then you want to slam the door, slam that door.
Yeah. Yes. It's exhausting.
It is. Where you and I are able to do what we do and see what we see and be empathetic and all that on top of it. If you don't shut those doors and set those boundaries, I don't think we would even be here anymore. We would be part of the others at this point because it's so overwhelming.
It is. I completely agree with you. Both are overwhelming for me.
Yes,
Both
yes.
physical people and the dead, or the others. Can't even just say the others, but let me ask you this, because I'm interested. We've never really talked about how your gifts work.
No.
So we're switching up topic because
Okay.
I thought about this earlier and I wanted to talk about it. When I connect with, if I'm doing a reading and I connect with someone who's dead, um, because they're showing it because I'm reading, you.
Yes.
Um, one of the first things I feel is how fast their car was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome.
Welcome to
One of the first things I feel is how they died. And and then also, for people I'm reading, if I can get them to relax enough, and I can feel the problem inside of them and where it's giving them pain and discomfort in their body, and I that's how I kind of I have that access. When people give it to me, I don't jump into people or whatever. That's I'm not in for the unconsenting stuff. But I feel that. What but you see them.
I see them.
Yeah, and I feel them. What's the second thing that happens with you? Like, you see them, and then, like, how do they communicate? How do you interact? Like, what have you set up as your way of kind of allowing for communication?
So I see them, they come forth. I don't know how else to put it. They just come forward.
Yeah.
The air tends to get a little thinner for me. It's like I can't take as deep of a breath. And that's how I know someone is like in front of me. Sometimes I'll feel like a touch on my neck.
Yeah.
And when they want to communicate, their mouths don't usually move. Like, it's just kind of like you and I when we talk and we don't say anything.
Yeah. We look in the corner.
We nod, we use our eyes, we use our hands. But you know what I'm saying, and I know
100%.
what you're thinking. Like,
100%. Okay.
So what is needing to be said or what they need me to hear just basically comes as a thought in my brain.
So it's kind of like claircognizance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I can't. It's not like I can't hear them.
Yeah.
I can hear them making noise. I can hear them throwing things. I can hear radios. I can hear,
Yeah.
But when someone actually wants to speak to me, that is how they present.
Okay.
If I touch an object, I can generally feel the way the person that owned that felt. Okay. So, for example, I was at Tyson's shop, excuse me, and he had a brooch in his back room, and it was a mourning brooch. And so it was made from human hair. It was it was from one of the Victorian ones, and it was there when I was doing stuff for Baca.
What?
And it was in the back room, and I picked it up, and I immediately got so sick that I actually had to put it down and leave. Just leave the store for a minute because I felt so violently ill that I couldn't function. So I'm fairly sure that the woman that had that, because I saw her, because I did go back in the store.
Yeah.
She, from the Victorian area, and she died of some sort of sickness. She never spoke to me, but she sat and looked at me, and I knew that it was her, and I knew that was her hair, and I knew she didn't feel well. And it, at that time, those kinds of sicknesses were rampant. That's how most people died.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
We.
Vroom, vroom. Gotta love the cars.
Wow. Okay. So, I've always wanted to do like a psychometry class there. But I would like to do a psychometry class that's more controlled. Like, here's my, here's a ring of mine. Like, I know what the history is, and then ask people specific things.
Yes.
I'd like to be very scientific about training with psychic abilities.
Yes.
Because then that gives you the validation.
So I've taken those psychometry classes with Kelly. But, I think there's a lot of people that guess when they hold something, or, I'm going to give
knife killed someone.
Right. I remember at one of those classes, I actually used one of my rings, and we passed it around, and it was from a dear friend of mine who passed away from cancer, and she was probably the most wonderful lady on the planet. She really was. And they passed that ring around and then got opinions and what they got off of it, and everything that everybody said was negative, except for Kathy, because Kathy knew who it belonged to. And so we just sat there, and I'm like, no, like, it kind of took me aback, because it came from such a wonderful place.
Yeah.
And to have people's feelings be so negative was a little disheartening, because there were a lot of faces that night that I didn't really know either. Yeah. There were a few that I knew, and I'm like,
people are weird.
Sometimes.
I do feel like it's sometimes really hard. I like her mentor program because it's a one-on-one thing.
Yes.
And I feel like, even when I do like major rune classes, I will take people for like 13 sessions, which is it's 12 months. It's a year. Like you're focused on a fucking year.
Yes.
If we're going to work deeply with it. Because I need to, I don't need to. I want to facilitate the best experience I can for you.
Absolutely.
Or anybody to kind of gain a relationship. Now, okay. Let me ask you this.
Okay, shoot.
I ask everyone this question.
Okay.
It's usually how we wrap up the show.
Okay.
Corine, you are speaking at sorry, the TATC, which is no longer that, commencement ceremony, or BYU. How about BYU? Or University of Utah, or Utah State, or Harvard. You're speaking at Harvard.
Yeah, I am. I'm so brilliant.
West Point. You're speaking at West Point.
Okay.
For their commencement, graduation. Or this is like what you have fucking told your kids over and over and over and over again. What is the one thing you would say to anybody about, like, what is Corine's mantra? Like, what is Corine's, like, we're adding this to the time capsule. Mine is a t-shirt that says you can't make this shit up. But like, what is it for you?
That's fair. Besides, hang on to your seats and enjoy the shit show. It's a pretty good one.
That's true.
I just would say, stay true to yourself. Don't let anybody convince you what you know, what you think, how you feel isn't true, because it is. It's your truth. You need to be true to you and stand in it. And don't let anybody sway you.
That was a great conversation, and I learned so much about a friend of mine that I've had forever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this episode will encourage you to have conversations with some of your very good friends about things maybe you've never chatted about before. Anyway, I thank Corine for being part of the show. And uh, I thank you for hanging out with us for an hour. I hope you have a great week. And thank you again for listening to Blue Antler, Whispered Secrets and Hidden Wisdom, a Discover Your Path podcast.